Graham Smith, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning. And now, you and I have spoken many times before, and I'm a Republican as well. I know you and I, our views are very much in the minority in this country in terms of that. But I'm still going to watch the royal wedding because I'm a little bit of a girl when it comes to these things. And I know you're appalled by me, an awful lot of people will probably have some reviews. They'll take, look, I'm not that bothered, but I'll watch it because it's on and everyone else they think is watching it. Although all the polling suggests that most people won't be watching it. Do you think that, today, tomorrow, are good days to be Republicans? And am I not right in thinking that tomorrow you've chosen as a day to actually hold some major Republican events?
Yeah, that's right. We've got an international Republican conference tomorrow. We actually picked the date before Harry and Meghan did, but when we heard the news, we thought, well, it's a good time to showcase the arguments for getting rid of the monarchy, not just here, but around Europe and around the Commonwealth. So that's what we're going to be busy doing. I mean, your point about watching the wedding is quite important, really, because the poll YouGov put out, which we commissioned at the beginning of the week, said that 2/3 of the population aren't interested. But of course, come tomorrow evening or Monday, people were saying what the viewing figures are, because a lot of people will just casually watch it. They'll be on TV. They'll be maybe staying home to catch the football later on in the day. So it'll be on, and so the viewing figures will be up. But that doesn't necessarily mean people are fascinated by the whole thing or
do you think a lot of this is just about the celebrity and about the glamour?
Yeah.
And in which case, does that work well for the royal family, or is that a risk for the royal family when they just become more celebrities in our lives?
I think it's very risky. I mean, people aren't really bothered about royalty per se or the monarchy as a form of government or anything like that. It is celebrity, and celebrity culture is very fickle. Celebrity media is very fickle, and they're kind of running out of these big occasions now. There's not a lot else for them to do. They've had 7 years of these big occasions, and the polling hasn't really shifted one way or the other.
Well, polling, yeah, but as you also discovered in that YouGov poll, we were talking about it on the show about half an hour ago. The reality is actually, the majority of people want to maintain the monarchy.
Yeah, sure, but I mean, I think what the poll really says is that most people are content with keeping the monarchy, but they don't have. They don't really care that much. I mean, this is the thing. I mean, we're told that everybody loves the Queen, and only a third could get the enthusiasm to say they like her a great deal.
You're saying the British attitude to the monarchy isn't this sort of flag-waving obsession.
Yeah.
It's and the street parties. I mean, we're not seeing anything of that really at all. But it's just a sort of a bemused shrug.
Yeah, I mean, most people. Generally, the status quo gets a big advantage anyway. If people haven't been prompted to think, okay, there's a problem that needs to be fixed, they're going to go with keeping what we've got. And most people think that it's benign, it's harmless, doesn't get involved in anything, and it makes a bit of money on the side, and everyone else likes it. That's quite a powerful obstacle for us to get over because the reality is it's not benign. It's actually quite a problem, and it doesn't bring us any money. And as we've seen, most people aren't that bothered.
You're saying it doesn't bring in money. Lots of people say it's all about the tourism. The Americans are obsessed with this stuff.
This is interesting, you see, because there was a Pew Research poll that said the vast majority of Americans aren't interested. There was a poll this week, I think, I forget who did it, saying the vast majority of Americans aren't interested. I wrote to Visit Britain a month ago, and they got back to me on Wednesday. I said, can you give me all your data to show, how the monarchy impacts on tourism? They couldn't give me any. I mean, they tried.
So these things are bandied around, but without any evidence. So okay. Well, what about? I mean, I know you've been speaking out this week about the cost of this royal wedding. Weddings, even a really simple wedding, costs quite a few £1,000. This is definitely in a different league from that, hundreds of thousands, if not millions. A huge amount of the money that's being spent is being spent on security, and that's being footed by taxpayers.
Yeah, and there's two things to say about this. Firstly, there's nothing inevitable about this being a huge public spectacle. Harry and Meghan and the royal family chose to turn this into a public parade, and because of that, the taxpayer is going to be hit by a multi-million bill. Now, this is police forces in Thames Valley Police and the Metropolitan Police who are struggling to cope with policing, with dealing with knife crime and all the rest of it. Now having to find millions of pounds to fund their wedding, they could afford to pay for that cost themselves. And again, the polling quite clear. Most people think that the royals should pay for the policing and the security. We actually asked people, if you had a choice whether your taxes get spent on this wedding, something like 75% said no. Rather.
Well, but
rather not.
yeah, look, as a general rule, I think we need to be honest about what the royals cost us. And I don't like it when people say, oh, it's only, 10p a week or whatever it is, and then completely ignoring all the extra costs which are added on, like security and upkeep of palaces and the like, which we actually do end up paying for. But in this respect, one of the reasons yes, they've chosen to make it public, but even if it wasn't being all very public, there'd still be an element of security, and Prince Harry would still be a target, particularly for ISIS terrorists and Al Qaeda or whoever else, particularly because he's served in Afghanistan. There is an element of me that thinks, well, do you know what? I mean, the duty of care that we have towards anyone in the public eye, and I don't care whether it's Nigel Farage who needs security 24/7 and has to pay for it himself, which I don't think he'd have to do because of his situation, or whether it's a Labour MP, if it's because someone's gay or someone's whatever it is, if someone's in the public eye they're under threat, I think that should be provided by the state.
Sure. I mean, I think there's an argument for that. I think that the difference here is that we provide Harry with security all the time. They've chosen to make a public spectacle, which then increases that security bill this weekend by millions. Now, they could have had a private family wedding in Sandringham or Balmoral, invited cameras in and put it on TV, and it will all be done and dusted without costing us millions of pounds. I mean, these police forces are struggling to cope with knife crime and basic low-level crime. So why are we being asked to spend this kind of money? OK.
Graham Smith, thank you very much, Chief Executive of Republic. Let's talk now to royal writer Charlie Jacoby. Good morning to you, Charlie.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us. Much appreciate that. Now, Graham Smith, very much, he's not going to watch it. He's going to have his own Republic conference. Not much interest. A lot of people, though, are still very interested. What are you going to be doing on the day?
Well, of course, I'm going to be in Windsor. It's a wonderful day. Everybody's going to be out. It's going to be the best place to watch it because, of course, it's going to be so sunny across the rest of the UK that people are not going to watch it because they're going to want to sit in their gardens, sit in the parks and enjoy that instead. So,
that is one of the things. Although I've got to say, the thought of going and lining the streets and waving a little flag at someone else's wedding, I find quite bizarre.
You don't have to go into centre of Windsor, which is a nightmare area to stand for a royal wedding. It's got very narrow streets. It's not a good place to hold a wedding. But they're doing a 1.25 mile carriage ride afterwards into Windsor Great Park, which is going to be a much better place to be.
With us peasants get to see the peasants parade, as we're calling it.
We commoners.
We're very lucky. Now, what do you make? I mean, we've been talking about this week. I have to say, look, I'm not. I'm girl. I like a wedding. What can I say? I prefer watching one on telly than going to them, to be honest. But I have to say, I think every woman in the world, and probably every man as well, your heart just goes out to Meghan Markle at the shenanigans involving her father and the paparazzi, the heart problems, all this. But basically, she hasn't got her dad to walk her up the aisle. Do we have the latest now? We had it confirmed yesterday. He definitely is not going to be appearing. But right. Do we know yet whether Meghan Markle's mother, who has arrived in the country, is apparently meeting the Queen for tea today, whether she will be walking her up the aisle?
Well, pop down to the betting shop. I think you'll find Doria Ragland, the mother, is definitely Evan's favourite. She could do it by herself. She could. Meghan is a strong, independent woman. She could easily walk up by herself. I mean, this whole sort of rather patriarchal idea of being given away. But and if you want a really outside chance, Kate could give her away. But I seriously doubt that. So I think it's going to be Doria.
Okay, and in terms of, do we know things about like the honeymoon and things like that? Has it all been kept top secret?
No, top secret, I'm afraid. I mean, it's a reasonable bet that Africa will figure, Caribbean will figure one or other. I mean, Prince Harry has a particular love. Yes, isn't it, misery? He has a particular love of Africa, but he's been in we talk about the pressures of public life and
I wouldn't want to be them for the world, honestly.
There you go. So give them a week in Africa. Go on. Perhaps at taxpayers' expense, but give them a week in Africa.
They get quite a lot of holidays.